you're shopping.
I have a whole bottle of wine. It's great. And perfume. It's so many things. Oh, I can buy tea!
No!
All right.
Jesus Christ.
Can we sit there making
Just run the fucking recording.
It's going already.
Alright. It's gonna take like 5 seconds. Recording in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the maiden session of Chronicles of Koth. It's going to be a Demon Gate episodic, meaning no set players at any given time, but the purpose of this is just going to be to continue showing off the Demon Gate system, which we enjoy here at Blades and Blasters. It will be a series of adventures. Sometimes it'll be the same faces, other times it'll be set in different places, different faces. Just kind of depends on what we're feeling like. I'll be your GM Ghost. Today I'm joined by players Aki, playing as Qualmorith, Matt playing as Varsuvius, and Slip playing as Moftet. We're going to have Bo. Unfortunately could not attend, so Bo, I hope you enjoy the session, and maybe we'll get you next time. If you enjoy this game, please go ahead and leave a like. Also subscribe to Blades and Blasters for more RPG content, character creation, and the occasional live chat when we're all drunk. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick intro here for a handout to give us an idea of what's going on. So everybody see this?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read the words. Few know the histories of Koth. Cold and unforgiving, this world takes more often than it gives. Years of history have been lost to the common man, as few have the time to worry about more than their own survival day by day. The chosen few lore masters hold desperately the scraps of knowledge they possess, one day hoping to recover secrets and treasures lost to time for their respective nations. Knowledge is power, after all, as Cassiris of Atacralia once said. But even of those who know the histories, tales are still lost, woven so deeply in the fabric that only the finest eye for quality might see snippets of their thread, such as the story of the Cave of Hexes. A group of adventurers arrive at the kingdom of Theed. A magistrate under King Mok requests aid for the kingdom. A small village called Worm's Tail is designated as the meeting place for discussions of the contract. It rests just outside of the mighty capital of Theed, Wormfire. Details are sparse, but it is believed that the magistrate requires services for procuring a very valuable treasure for the good of the realm. All right, so the three of you have arrived from wherever your respective homes, nations are, at the village of Worm's Tail. This contract drew you in for one reason or another. Maybe it was just the coin, maybe it was the adventure itself, or the fame. For whatever reason, you responded, learned of this, and came to engage in it. People want to go ahead and do introductions. We can start with Qualmorith and then go left to right. So Qualmorith, if you want to introduce what you're all about.
Yeah. So Qualmorith is a Shadow Eludrin, a Ludrin, whichever way it is, and Dark Elf. Well, Pale Elf, really. He is rather regal-looking, I suppose, as best he can outfit himself with the recommendation of friends. He is blind as well, making him quite the unique character. His intro. The world kisses me this fine day. Such a wonderful world paints itself before me. The scent of the fires carried to my nose. The sound of ale mugs clinking, blessing my ears. Though darkened eyes, I witness a world of melodic echoes and vibrant textures. Petty sight is eternally lost to me, but all else the world offers charges to the forefront in plentiful generosity. I am called Morith Dawn Whisperer, born on the 6th dawn of reaping. I am an artist, a bard of soon-to-be great renown. Though through my blessed voice and elegant fingers, songs echoes forth and illuminates the world before me in a cascade of melody. With a theorbo folded on my back, a blade in hand, and an aria in my throat, I wander the world in search of inspiration. After all, songs don't write themselves in a vacuum devoid of life. Living may be difficult, and suffering has found me ripe for plunder through the years, but the heartbeat of the world brightens even the darkest dawn. I shall live a life as wondrous as fate allows, and sing tales of the grandest order. Thus do I face the world before me, illuminated by song and warmed by mirth. That is Qualmorith.
All right, very good. And then Varsuvius.
And Varsuvius is a Vatagi of the Scratch clan. Bald head, always draped in robes with a hood over their head. Their lips always looking chapped, skin pulled taut against the bone. You can see veins that spiral and snake upwards through their arms, through their face, going up their neck. Oh, Varsuvius always wears a small smirk on their face, always carrying a holy symbol of the Maker at their side. Monk for part of their life, as before that, well, they don't speak of that much, but it is a life that was full of debauchery, violence, and, well, abuse. Not to them, but at their own hands. And now Varsuvius looks to the skies and looks forward, trying to make Koth a better place, trying to save the souls and the people that they run into, and also just trying to make themselves better, all because of the Maker and his light. And that's all for Varsuvius.
And last but not least, Maftet.
Maftet is a Mentep, and quite tall for a Mentep at 5.5 feet. She has a pale face and blonde hair with a pattern of dark spots beginning on her brow and cheeks and extending into her hair. She bears a spear with a moon-shaped blade and wears armor that allows freedom of movement. Her physique is all wiry muscle, not an ounce of wasted flesh. And her green eyes watch her surroundings with intent, expression serious. I am Maftet of the Alfad, most ancient of all bloodlines. For centuries lost to time, our clan has bred protectors to the great and powerful families of Mian Wu. I was trained from walking age to wield a spear, to live without fear, to shield the young ones of the Cao family with my body if necessary. I have failed, and my shame knows no surcease. My little golden master was taken in the night by the shadow Chen, no doubt. I awoke as if from 1,000-year slumber to discover his bed empty and a poisoned dart on my pillow. Only the fierceness of my heritage kept me from death of poison, but the endless night is preferable to failure. Some now say I am a coward, or worse, paid in blood coin to falter in my duties and allow Shitzi to be spirited away. I am tormented by nightmares, waking and dreaming, wondering what fate he has suffered. The Chen are not known to be merciful toward their rivals. Mian Wu, that city of clouds and wonder, is lost to me now. Too many know, and every glance carries suspicion and scorn like knives in my back. I wander without destination or hope of return. Why not end it all, you ask? What possible reason could a wretch such as myself have to continue to breathe the air of better men? It would be too easy. An end to my suffering would not lift the stain from my family's name. Redemption for me and my kin will come only by great acts. Perhaps, in time, I will accomplish something great, and word of these acts will reach the ears of my mother and grandmother, and they too can die in peace, to be buried in the catacombs with honor restored, besides those who have passed before us.
All right, very good. All right, so the three of you are brought into the hall by one of the servants here, the Longhouse. It is the Longhouse for the city of Wormstail. The magistrate has not yet arrived. The servants told you he was currently in a meeting, so you're all brought in rest and offered some simple offerings of food, bread, and cheeses at a small table as you wait. Whether or not any of you are familiar with one another is up to you, but there's a bit of time for interaction between players before we go forth.
Well then, Quilmorith is probably sitting, of course, towards one of the edges of the table rather than towards a middle seat, given the ease of entry by comparison. Sipping away at some wine and or whatever they would have offered. Eating quietly, keeping to himself for the most part. Although, when he entered, he most notably had a bit of a hum in his voice, which would peak here and there. Relatively audible, certainly not trying to be quiet with it. But regardless, once he sat down, it seemed to lessen to the least, and is actually quite quiet when he eats. But aside from that, he doesn't seem to bring his face up from his plate at all, as he kind of sits there, hat tipped down, blacking his face for the most part, eating away, taking a sip here and there.
Does he carry an instrument?
He actually has quite a large instrument. It's a theorbo, which is massive, but the neck is essentially, think like a lute, but twice as long. The neck is folded over, and it's a fair bit thicker as well.
Moftet would approach, seeing that he carries an instrument, and sit down across from him. And she tries to catch his eye, and failing that, says,
Yeah.
"Sir, are you perhaps a bard, a teller of tales, or just a musician here?"
He does smile as you head over, but if there's any kind of actual attempt to gain his attention visually, it seems to gain no response. But there's a smile on his face as he, yes, a bard indeed, a minstrel, if you will. Although I am here to help. I heard there were some issues. I suppose no point in not helping when I could. Yes.
Yes. And one of your kind is always welcome as far as I am concerned. Without the tale tellers, then when we die, our stories die too. It is the only true immortality we have.
Yes, I suppose it is, isn't it? Quite wise of you.
It is well known among my kind.
Well, this is good. Far too few appreciate fine arts such as music. Lights up the world, after all.
I cannot claim to have a great ear for it, but I like what I like. Perhaps later, you can play for us.
I certainly wouldn't mind. Yes, let me go ahead and set up, if you will. Although I don't know when the magistrate will be here.
This I also do not know. And she starts looking around. How many people besides us are in the room?
Actually, none. It is quite barren in here. There is a fire that dominates the center of the room. Unfortunately, no pig like in the picture being roasted, but there are fires and a few candles, but it appears very dimly lit. Not really much going on. A few servants cleaning here and there, but no event.
So, other than us, just Varsuvius.
Yeah, Varsuvius and then a few servants who are cleaning, but they have their head in what they're doing. They're dusting or sweeping.
Is it fairly quiet, or?
Fairly. I mean, you would hear, all of you really would hear just the sound of the broom sweeping, maybe the occasional clatter of something as maybe something gets tipped a bit too far, or something is accidentally knocked off a wall by a clumsy servant, but not really much.
I like to think the quieter is, the kind of more Qualmorth can air quotes see, relatively speaking. So he seems quite pleased with the situation, contentedly eating away. Although now, after Moftet's comment, he's starting to pull the huge Theorbo off his back and kind of sets it next to him as he starts stringing it up and getting it ready.
Is Varsuvius wearing her hood right now?
As the two of you were talking, Varsuvius, they had been sitting across the room at this point, eating just the basics. They seemed to have pulled out just kind of bread and rice. Nothing special, no meats, no cheeses. Just very bland and boring foods. And hearing the two of you speak, they make their way over and they stand near the both of you, but they don't sit down just yet. And the hood still pulled over their eyes and a small smirk appearing on their face. Do you mind if I sit with you? I assume you're here for the job.
Moftet gestures with her hand. I do not mind. There are only 3 of us here. It would appear that we may end up working together.
It seems to be the case. And Varsuvius will take a seat next to Moftet and look towards Qualmorth and then back to Moftet. I am Varsuvius. It is a pleasure to meet both of you.
I am Moftet of the Alphad. And this
yes.
is...
I apologize. I don't think I introduced myself, did I? Qualmorth Dawn Whisper. It is a pleasure to meet you both.
Qualmorith. What kind of a name is Qualmorith? I do not know this name.
Smiles again. He's not really looking towards either of them. He has his head slightly tilted with his ear up towards them almost. His eyes have been closed this whole while, if you look kind of under the brim of his large hat, as he continues to finish setting up the connections on his Theorbo, just finishing up stringing it and tightening them down. Oh, yes, Ludrin.
Moftet furrows her brow at this. Is that... she tries to peek under his hat at his ears.
They are fairly long. Although you notice, like, you've probably met, or Eldrin, not Eldrin. Eldrin, he's probably about the palest you've probably ever seen, unless you've seen a shadow elf before.
She just kind of grunts in acknowledgement and starts to pick up some meat. You might notice that her plate is completely... There are no vegetables or potatoes or anything of that nature on her plate at all. Just meat.
Qualmorth, depending on how close the two of them get, or if they have a good sense of smell, is impeccably clean and surprisingly pleasant smelling, probably compared to most you might encounter, especially for air quotes adventurer types.
Vesuvius will give Quelmorth not a judgy look, but more just of an appraisal before giving another smile. You seem to take very good care of yourself.
Yes, I suppose I do. After all, as a bard, I must... He kind of hesitates for a moment. I suppose I must look the part, yes? As best I can.
I suppose, but I must ask what kind of bard exactly you are.
He kind of has a kind of half smile at that point from his rather full one before. Well, I suppose that is hard to answer, isn't it? It certainly depends on what I'm playing at the time.
Indeed.
Ah, there we go. And he tightens the last few pegs up. If you would, I could play something for you all, yes?
That would
Although I'm better with my voice, of course.
That would be most wonderful, Quelmorth.
Yeah, and he sets to strumming along the theorbo, starts something kind of down low in comparison before it starts kind of picking up, and then his voice is a bit different when he sings, much more rather high and melodic than anything. So I don't know if you want me to make a roll.
Sure.
Either.
No, I want you to sing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. What are you singing?
Wonderwall.
It's probably some kind of I'm not fucking. I can't go high. If it were like some like fucking low ass baritone type shit, I'd be fine. But
roll me music and singing if you have them both.
Sure. Singing is decent. Music is also decent.
That's better than decent.
Yeah.
So just describe your performance that you're putting on for your fellow guests currently in the Longhouse while you wait for the magistrate to come out and sing if you have lyrics.
I don't.
Next time I'm gonna hold you to it.
Fine. But yeah, so he begins very slow, very quiet as the melody starts on lower notes. Slowly it begins to pick up, kind of almost swaying in the way as it rises, and eventually becomes a full-blown melody, picking up quite heavy, fairly loud through the quiet hall in comparison, overtaking it into not quite anything you would dance to, but something that you might perhaps hear in a tavern somewhere, right? As he begins singing along to the higher tones of it to match.
And Arcevius is very kind of enraptured by this. And they're staring and kind of watching as your fingers go across the instrument. And they don't take their eyes off of the performance, not paying attention to anything else going on.
Moftet's ears twitch and turn toward Quelmorth. A slight smile of appreciation on her face, but her eyes still flit to the left and to the right occasionally, always alert.
And as Quelmorth is finishing his performance, you hear clapping come from the far end of the room. And you see a larger man come out alongside a younger woman, red hair, with a staff. And he is clapping as he approaches. That was wonderful tune. Wonderful. Perhaps I will hire you for the hall after this is all said and done.
Oh, well, thank you kindly. I would certainly love to perform for you again.
Of course, I would love to have it. He looks at the three of you and gestures to some servants to bring over some accoutrements, some wine, and pulls over a chair. My name is Rogar. I am the magistrate here, a village elder more like, for the city of Worm's Tale. Welcome to my hold. I hope that you have found it to your liking thus far.
Of course. The smell of roasting boar and pleasant wine, of course, is always something I gladly welcome.
It is most wonderful here. Thank you for hosting.
Maftet nods, but cocks her head to the side without really responding and says, We were told that you needed assistance.
Yes, and Rogar looks at you and appraising look and nods. Right, yes, well, I know I have kept you waiting, so I will try to get to the point quickly and help you on your way. Gestures to the woman to his side. This is Idgith. She is a advisor to the king, King Mok. Long may he live. And he looks up to the sky and makes a sign. There is an item that she requires your assistance to procure for the kingdom. I have searched far and wide for worthy travelers and venturers to undertake this cause. Normally, we would have our own men take care of it, but we are stretched thin. To the south, you are aware of the nation Latikralia. There may be skirmishes on the horizon. Our men are on high alert, and, well, we have many worries on the road and away from home, which is why we need aid of fine adventurers such as yourselves. Those of you who have traveled would be at least passingly aware of Atticralia. It's a nation to the south, to relate it, think kind of a cross between Sparta and Roman Empire. Very expansionist, slavers, very strong military, and they are a danger to a lot of the people that they border. But he looks over at the woman, and Idgith has more from here. Gestures to her. But before we go on, any questions so far?
What will this be?
Of course, yes. So, in regards to payment, payment will be given upon return of the item to the hold. I am to present it to the king myself. Each of you will be afforded 75 gold pieces for this service you perform.
Cromorth's eyes stay shut, but an eyebrow raises at that. My, quite a fine sum.
It is a very tidy sum. King had commissioned it, but it is not without danger, this task. Idgith, please. The woman steps forward. As Rogar said, I am advisor to the king. The task we ask of you is not an easy one. I will be accompanying you, as my expertise in matters of magic will allow us to handle the artifact. It is called the Vial of Endless Life. It is rumored that a great deal of magic can be pulled from this, which can restore crops, heal crippling wounds, do a great many mystical and powerful deeds. But it is in possession of a foul place, lost to the times, unfortunately. Are any of you familiar with the Cave of Hexes?
Should I roll the thing to see if I know about that?
If anyone has history, they may. It is not going to be easy, but you may pass it.
I don't have history. I got
You can-
storytelling.
You can roll intelligence.
Maybe I've told a story about something like that.
I would say intelligence, because it's an intelligence-based
Fair
roll,
enough.
so, you know. Okay, that's one.
Doesn't have amazing int, sadly. Charismatic, perceptive, and dexterous, but not much of anything else.
I'm not rolling. She
That's right.
wouldn't know.
All right, Matt, you had a little success. I'm going to whisper you something.
Okay.
Qualmorith, as he listens into the conversation, kind of picking up, kind of just shakes his head quietly and trying to recall anything about it as he folds up the Theorba.
And Vesuvius's long nails click against the wooden table. And as she mentions the cave, they nod.
I've heard of the cave in passing. Some sort of den for witches. Or at least it used to be. I am assuming there's still some sort of evil there that needs to be cleansed in a way. Yes.
Edith thinks on it, but she eventually... Perhaps, but we have long known the cave to be abandoned. It may be a den to animals or bandits, as that has become a great problem for the city of for the country of Theed, but we are unsure. Superstitions have kept many from attempting to enter it since many years ago. There was a King Onus many, many years, centuries ago, that undertook a great quest to slay the Coven. He was king for only a day, but he's remembered as the greatest king of this land because he took down the witches, just himself and a few of his men, who had long terrorized this place. He died of their curses a day later, his son becoming king. It has long been abandoned, but as I said, superstition.
I find that sometimes superstition does hold some truth. But I would be honored to assist in acquiring this artifact to help your people.
Yes, if nothing else, it makes for a fine story, doesn't it?
Yes, it sounds like a deed that will be worth telling. I will do this.
Excellent. And she rubs her hands together. Well, a few of my personal guard were sent ahead to make sure the entrance of the cave is secured. They will not enter. It is our responsibility, and the king did not wish to endanger his men personally. As Rogar had stated, they are needed in case events boil over at the Kralia. But these two that I had sent will secure the entrance, if nothing else. We should leave immediately if you're all prepared. It is a day or two travel away, but we'll have to move very quickly with little time for rest.
Yes, of course. Not a problem. I'm ready whenever you wish to leave.
Yes, I can go right away.
Vesuvius nods in agreement.
Edith nods, and Rogar stands. One more thing. He roots around in a bag that he had brought with him. We were not able to find a good doctor or some sort to, a priest to help keep you safe, so we were able to round up an alchemist, and he has given these gifts to the state for this journey. He produces a few vials of red fluid and puts them on the table. The alchemist assures me these are potions that will heal you in the event of some damages, but they cannot bring you back from death, so puts them out, and there are enough for 2 for each of you.
Morris waits till he hears the others take theirs, and then reaches forward, picking up the other 2 between his fingers and slipping them into a sack along his belt.
Can
I roll a perception to see if she catches on that Qualmorth is blind yet. 'Cause I don't think
Sure.
he's said anything.
He's not mentioned it, and he.
You know
definitely-
he is mega blind. You are 100% certain that this man is blind beyond a shadow of all doubt.
No, she's surprised but impressed with, how deftly he's been handling things. And as he's reaching, she just, subtly kind of nudges it onto his fingers so he knows exactly where they are.
His head tilts a little bit, but nonetheless slides basically the neck of the potions between his fingers, making it so he doesn't have to reach around and tap around for them, essentially, and slips them into the sack. Gives a bit of a nod towards her, almost, though very small. And when he does this, of course, in most of these situations, he doesn't look directly towards her, or anyone else for that matter, generally kind of looking straight forward. But you'll notice very often the tilt of an ear upwards towards whoever is speaking or whatever noise is most present.
And Rogar waits for everyone to take their potions and... Very well. Safe travels to you. I will await your return. Bows and proceeds to leave. Right. So let me get rid of our missing man.
Feels bad, man.
The three of you and Edgith exit the longhouse into the village of Worm's Tail, a rather small, quaint place. You can see Theed in the far background against the mountains. The capital of Theed, I should say, Worm's Fire. And this is another opportunity if you want to take time to speak amongst to talk with yourselves, RP. Otherwise, we can move forward to the travel.
Qualmorth would step on out. He does, the moment they get up and start moving towards the door, he again has that hum in his voice. Pretty high within his mouth, the way it strings out a bit. Not quite turning into a actual song or anything quite, but always a hum. And he heads fairly directly towards the door. Would it have been open, or?
Yeah, it's the servants open and close the doors anytime anyone enters or exits.
Yeah, so he quite happily heads directly towards the door and out it, and steps outside and aside so that the others can walk past almost.
Moftet will head to the front. She'll generally walk in front wherever they're going, or at least that will be her instinct.
Vesuvius will make their way out. And what's the day like outside? Is it a nice day or anything like that?
Yeah,
What's
it like?
Please describe.
It is a spring day. For those of you that can see, birds are in the air. It is warm, probably 70s, mid 70s, low 70s and mid. A very slight breeze, nothing to raise the hairs on your skin or chill. There are children outside playing. There are people doing about their daily tasks. You do see someone on the side shops is selling simple trinkets and foods, nothing like a large extravagant marketplace. For Qualmorth, you hear the din of all this. You hear the children playing, the sound of their feet hitting the ground, the pads of their shoes, the jingle of coins that's exchanged between customer and merchant. You also hear the slight breezes of wind that gush through and the occasional call of a bird in the distance. You feel the warmth against your skin, knowing that the sun is still high in the sky at this time of day. And the smell of fresh spring is in the air.
Nice.
Vesuvius, as they make their way out, they take a deep inhale of the air. And they look up slightly to the sky, not fully raising their heads, so the hood stays on. And look to the others.
It looks like the Maker smiles upon us this day.
'Tis a fine busy day, isn't it? A lovely string.
Moftet agrees, nodding. With the mountains and this fine weather, it is almost as lovely as Mianwu.
These signs point to, as far as I can see, a successful endeavor.
I certainly hope so. Though I suppose all is to be seen, yes?
Idgith, how far do we have to go?
And she kind of straps a pack onto her back to make sure it's secured. It should be 2 days' travel to the south. There is a path we can follow along the road for some time, but we will have to cut off into the dirt paths and mule roads before we can actually reach the cave. 2 of my personal guard will be there. The Jarl's, the king's men, but they are those I have brought on for this journey.
I don't suppose there's any trouble in particular we'll be expecting?
You feel a bit of a shift, Qualmorith. Just a sense from her that maybe something has changed in her demeanor a bit, and she kind of exhales rather sharply. Our kingdom is in a state of upheaval right now. It is no secret about what is happening to the south, and with all the troop movements and changes, there are some more dangers than we are used to in the country.
So, bandits and sort, perhaps, or worse.
No, bandits, and worse bandits. There are a few that are rather notorious. Their name escapes me at the time, but they wear elks on their helmets, elk horns on their helmets. They've been rather active lately.
Do they
My.
come into your village?
No, never. And she gestures around, and you do see the occasional citizen soldier. You can tell that their equipment's perhaps not as up to par as maybe a soldier or two you might have seen passing through, or when you were on your way here. They are formidable opponents, but they would never try to raid a village. Nothing yet, anyway. The king may be preoccupied matters south, but if any bandit tried to come into his towns, the response would be swift and terrible. King Mock is not known for his mercy to those who would harm his people.
This is good, she said, looking around at the children playing on the roads. All children deserve to sleep soundly at night.
Edgith looks optimistically towards him. Yes, and perhaps with this we can guarantee their future. Imagine crops growing without hindrance, people living longer lives. Theed could benefit greatly from this.
Yes, indeed. Though caution must always err one. For others, of course, would seek this.
Let them try, and she will tighten the straps, and she appears to be ready to move on whenever you are.
Gives a bit of a nod in no particular direction, and kind of waits for them to start moving more than anything.
All right, anything before we move forward? All right. So you travel south along for a few hours outside of the village. It's still daylight, but the sun is starting to set. You see the characteristic orange glow. There's the twin suns in this setting, but I have to double check that. But they begin to set. the orange haze as you're approaching along the roadway, and you're getting down a particular stretch of road. You do hear shouting ahead. And as you approach, the first thing you'd all see is a group of 3 men on the road. They seem to be in the way of a large cart, a wheel broken. There's an older-looking man, mid to late 40s, perhaps, looking a bit destitute. Behind him is the cart, and then further behind the cart, you see 2 quivering figures next to a tree. You do catch snippets of the conversation. It doesn't sound pleasant right away, but you don't hear a great deal from the distance that you're at right now.
Or do we?
Yeah, can we
I make
roll?
a listen?
Yeah, sure. If you have listening, if you don't, you can just roll perception.
I have
I'm
listened.
gonna spend a frenzy to get my +1 d6 to my roll.
Okay.
What do I hear?
Oh my god.
With my elf ears.
Whoa.
He's got echolocation. He's got good. Fucking crazy. Ooh.
So two of you got it plenty. So yeah, so listening intently. Of Arsuvius, you're having difficulty hearing it, but Loftet and Qualmorith, you both hear a conversation that you may be familiar with when it comes to people trying to take things from others. If you've ever been across bandits, it's very clear the conversation you hear on the onset. The large man here, pair of horns on his helmet, one turned up, one turned downward. He looks to the older gentleman. So you thought you could just come down the road and not pay, huh? Don't you know there's a toll for passing through these days? Another one backs him. There's a toll for passing through. Man kind of quivers and shakes. Please, we're destitute. We're just trying to get to the next town. We are hungry. We have nothing for you.
I think as soon as Moftet sees this happening, she's going to try to surprise them and attack them. Where would she have to go to be within 2 of both of these guys?
Right about there.
How much movement is that? 1, 2, 3, 4?
It's plenty. You can try to make a stealth check to see if you can get there without them noticing you.
If it's possible for, I'm not sure, for Varsuvius to notice Moftet even doing this before she moves off.
I would say you could roll perception or observe.
And apparently I'm not being terribly stealthy about it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, why did I roll Dex? I'm sorry. 1 second.
I don't know.
You
Well,
immediately
Mars
see
isn't
her
even assuming
body
she's trying to-
tense
Oh.
up.
No, Varsuvius sees nothing.
Vesuvius is.
I'm focused on the humming.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna go ahead and roll their
Maybe
perception.
Qualmorith hears a low growl in her throat.
Yeah, Qualmorith immediately upon hearing these guys, by the way, he has a single rapier, which he. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah, so he didn't.
Oh.
All right, one of them did. So there, I would say, Moftet, you get about there, and then a branch betrays you, as in all scenarios. A loud crack rings out through the air, and one of them doesn't immediately, but the one who was rather loud, boisterous, turns on his heel, and who is there? And he looks and sees this Mentep standing in the row with a spear. What the hell is this?
She's not standing. She's charging, like at a blinding fast speed.
Well, I guess we're just gonna do it then, because they're ready. So let's
They're
go ahead
attacking
and
a kid. She's not having
They're
it.
talking.
It's fair enough. Everybody see this Mentep charging with a spear. Everybody go ahead and roll initiative.
Press button. Yay.
And so it begins.
So it begins with a
Oof.
cat.
Dang, why am I so
uh,
freaking slow for someone so freaking fast?
Blind guy. The blind guy's so swift.
Mm-hmm.
He's on point, man. He's crazy good. It's worth noting as well that the whole way up till now, until he started hearing these voices, and as long as he has other people around him, he doesn't hum as loudly, but now the hum is silent as this commences.
Oh shoot, I should have done my great leap.
Great leap.
With a dexterity check equal to inches, they may leap to their max
Holy crap.
running movement, which for me is 13.
Shit. You literally
Nice.
could have just leapt all the way onto one of them and
Jumped on this guy's back. All right. And then I'll just put Edith as well.
Okay.
Where's hers? Okay, makes sense. All right. So Qualmorith is first. You hear the ruffling of weapons and the shouts of men preparing for combat ahead. As you hear Moftet in a low growl sprinting forward.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Qualmorith actually, as he starts walking up, he pulls out this rapier and has it down low, in like a vaguely defensive stance, and he simply begins walking as he starts humming again, and it turns from a simple hum into a full volume song as he begins singing. So I will use Battle Song, which gives I just have to make a singing check, and it gives an additional +1 to attack or defend for all players.
Oh,
Yes.
very good.
Do a singing check. Forgot I don't have to go off the cheat.
That's awesome.
That is very nice.
Very good. Yes. It's only a target 5, so.
Easy.
As his
All right,
song
so-
begins to spread over the battlefield, he just quietly walks forward. Well, air quotes, quietly walks forward.
Quietly. How
Solemnly
long
walks
does this
forward.
last?
Um,
Duration?
let me double check. It lasts for 4 rounds before I have to do it again.
Okay.
So basically, I can activate it every 4 rounds.
All right, so go ahead and I mean, this is round 1, so yeah, everybody make sure to keep track of that. You're getting +1 modifiers to attack and defend. You said?
Yep.
Okay, so everybody just remember that. Is that it for your turn?
I only have a -2 now. Yeah. To defense.
All right.
Still -3
So-
for offense.
So it is Brigand's turn. This one on the right sees this dainty-looking man walking towards him, and they're trying to stop us. There's a toll, and you'll be paying in blood. And it runs over towards Qualmorith, this one, and
Oh no.
will try to swing on you. You hear the whoosh of a blade, 2 sides of a blade, so you think this may be a sword he is attacking you with.
Mm-hmm. Oh my. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Rolled very low. Yeah. I didn't roll low. I rolled fine. Oof. Yeah, Qualmorith takes a pretty hefty hit as he moves to get out of the way, but not in time.
And he will attack you once more with the sword. You hear the swooshing of the blade. It cuts through some of your leathers, your clothes, and you feel the sting of pain and the running of some kind of liquid. You're pretty sure you know what it is across your
Oh, yeah.
chest.
No. Defend, my boy. Did it add the... Oh yeah, it did add the plus. Okay, cool. Yay! Now... Yeah, having kind of grasped the situation with a literal blade into his chest, he takes a swift step to the side as the wish goes past the opposite direction on the backswing. Fairly deftly, actually, dipping out of the way compared.
Right. That'd be it for him. This middle one here, the one that was speaking with the old man, clearly turns his head to him. Stay there, you old prick, or we'll find you later. Looks at the cat that was approaching him. Ah, the fighting one. We will bring home a nice prize for Krega. He charges Maftet with an axe swinging in hand. He's gonna do a heavy attack. Whew.
That +1.
Describe the evasion of this very heavy-handed swing that he was just trying to downswing.
She's charging forward and he charges at her. He swings and using her flexibility to her advantage, it's one of those where she just kind of leans back as the blade whooshes where her head used to be.
Right, and then the last one, he sees this hooded figure stumbling around here in the back of the trees and wants no part of it. Seeing that the other two are thoroughly engaged, he runs forward and sprints at Vesuvius, attempting to charge at them. And this will also be a heavy attack. You see a long sword coming down towards you, Vesuvius. Oh my.
Alright, one sec. And we have +1 to defend, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Vesuvius, they're standing there and seeing Maftet run off, not being able to kind of grab them before she sprinted off. There's not a look of anticipation for the fight, not a look of excitement or anger. There's just this look of disappointment. And as this gentleman just comes charging up to Vesuvius, they still kind of have their hands clasped together on their chest, and their robes intertwined with one another, and they just sidestep as the long sword comes down.
All right. And it is Vesuvius.
Vesuvius heaves a heavy sigh and just looks to the one who charged.
I wanted to do this the peaceful way. I apologize for what I am about to do.
And I'm going to do a 4-hit combo. And I'm going to activate Chi Strike, and I'm going to do Tidal Wave as well.
RKO him. Show me the dice.
Alright, let's see. I got unarmed and
When you're doing a combo attack and you add the Chi Strike into the modifier, does it multiply that for each strike?
Yes. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, I don't know actually.
It should.
Because it's one. Oh, yeah. Well, because technically, for each attack, you would have to pay for a Chi Strike for that.
Yeah.
Attack.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Oh boy. Okay, let's see. He will try to dodge this. He said it was a 4-hit combo?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, that's supposed to be a 4.
What's it?
Oh!
Ooh!
Oh man.
I do still have to do Drain, I think, since I attacked with them and I didn't hit. That's okay.
Yeah, so what's the drain on both those?
1d6 and 1d12.
Let's go ahead and do those now, and then we'll act out the next portion of it. 7. Okay, not bad. So you go in to do this combo, and with a surprising deftness, maybe This helmeted man, his both his horns look broken on his helmet, but he swiftly kind of gets out of the way of each one of your strikes. And apologize for what? For dying? No need. He tries to swing on you with a counter attack from his nat 20.
Oh no.
Nope.
Yeah, so Varsuvius, being caught off guard by completely kind of missing the attacks and him sidestepping, just barely kind of rolls out of the way, and I'm going to use 2 Frenzy to do, I guess, a rage attack against this guy. And I'm going to activate Chi Strike and Bone Breaker this time. But I'm going to do a called shot on his sword arm. I don't know what the negative is for that.
I'm gonna look at it right now. Let me see. Combat. Special combat. Called shot. Called shots. So for the arm, that is a limb, so it's a -3 to the
Alright, we're
modifier.
gonna try this. Ooh!
That's pretty good.
Man, if he gets another 20.
Oh my god, that bastard! I can't believe this.
So
Yeah.
just describe this fight with this man who just seems to be reading your every move.
And it seems to be the same thing, just the 2 are kind of locked in combat this time, and every time one
Did you get
swings
the
to the
+1?
other. I did!
Yeah, she
Oh,
took it off the -3.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, every time that Varsuvius goes into swing, they just dodge, and vice versa, and they just seem kind of locked in this combat. Varsuvius swinging at this point for their arm, seeming to try and break it with an open palm, and him just barely getting out of the way.
Anything else from Vesuvius?
Unfortunately, that's it.
All right, Maftet.
What kind of armor are these guys wearing?
You see, it appears to be kind of leather armor, hardened leather, basically.
Okay.
They have leather kind of plate over their chest, and then also leather helms with a mixed intermixed steel, but it looks very janky.
Okay. I'm gonna do a combo attack with 3 attacks, and I'm gonna put 1 Chi Strike in there for the damage, so I'm committing to that.
All right, go.
No.
Oh,
Man.
Nice.
Ooh.
show me the money. For your modifier, make sure you do the d6 for the damage whenever you roll it. And that does explode as well. I think that she strikes D6. Oh my god.
Well.
That's pretty
Shit.
good. So describe how this man is dispatched.
This is all happening pretty fast, and as he makes a couple more feints toward her, she just takes that moon-shaped spear blade and swings it a little, kind of around behind her to gain some momentum, brings it down and hits him directly in the side of the neck, almost taking his head off, and just as quickly whips it right back out of his neck. And then she's going to continue. She's got more actions.
Oh boy.
She's still got 1 unarmed, so she can still move.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to position myself basically here, that somewhere that's 2 away from this guy.
Mhm.
And she'll do an unarmed, and then she'll also do do 2 frenzy for a rage attack. So I'll do the unarmed first.
So unarmed from range 2?
Oh, you're right. She can't. She can't. So I'll just do a frenzy for rage attacks.
Okay, understood. All right, go ahead. So a rage attack against the guy fighting Dawn Whisper.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, she gonna save me. Ooh.
We'll see.
Got him.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
I didn't say she put an Ichi in this one, so.
Smush him.
Knocks him to the ground. So go ahead and describe as you push this man to the floor.
So not even really pausing, other than to grab her blade out of the other man's neck, she leaps forward onto his body and brings the blade down onto the shoulder of the warrior threatening the bard, and the force of the blade pushes him to the ground.
Yeah, and he had seen his friend go down. He's like, Rolf! And he looks and then sees the blade go down. Ah! Pushed to the ground in front of
And as she pulls it back, just kind of whips it back into defensive position, she points it at him and says, "Flee."
And he does look a bit frightened. You see Edgith at the back. Doesn't appear as if she's doing a great deal. She does appear to be speaking kind of whispers. You can't really hear a great deal from where you're at unless you're going to try to make an act.
Well, what kind of role would that be?
Probably listening.
Oh, listen, you say.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
I'm going to whisper you
It's the
something.
one
Mr.
thing
Whisper.
he's good at.
Nothing gets by you. Oh my.
Perseus knows nothing.
Meanwhile,
They're so locked in combat.
normally I would say Qualmorith wouldn't be able to hear from that far, but with that, absolutely. So I'll whisper you something, Qualmorith. But she does not appear to do anything as far as you can tell. Right away for those of you that can see. So Qualmorith, it is your turn, but I will whisper you something as well.
Yeah, Qualmorith, hearing the ragged breathing of the guy in front of him down low, he's basically going to lunge in with his rapier. The song still held high as he then, it kind of reaches a bit of a crescendo as he kind of dives forward with his attack. Rapier, +1. And I think I'll go with quick attack. Hey!
Oh, why?
It's not terrible.
Nice.
Not as terrible as it could be, at least.
Oh, bummer.
Yay! Oh my gosh. Yay. He actually hit something. I can't believe it. Alrighty. Oof. Well, that one. But still.
Alright, so you do stab at him with the rapier. Anything else?
I will do a second, yeah. As he kind of does two quick thrusts, essentially. Ooh. He's doing so nicely. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. Is he gonna get a kill? No. We'll see. It's low damage, but...
Almost, I think.
So you stab at this brigand who you felt fall to the ground ahead of you, and you do feel the end of your rapier reach for some resistance, but not much. Doesn't feel like armor. Certainly you feel as though you've pierced flesh, and that you hear is a cries out in pain, kind of affirm that he's God away from me, and you hear dirt kind of being kicked up and scraping, and sounds if he's trying to back away from you.
Yeah, Qualmorith, the two quick punctures, kind of is upright, the rapier kind of pointed at angle down towards him. Oh, that's interesting. But he doesn't seem to move as if to pursue this guy. He's kind of standing there, almost waiting to see what the guy does. But that's him anyway. So.
All right. So this bandit here actually. Let's see. No, that's pretty bad. He covered in blood and wounds. He looks at this cart, this family. There's almost nothing in the cart. He looks at the three of you and his dead friend, and he begins to turn to run. You do have an opportunity attack if you want it.
He won't take it. No. Clomorith thinks of it. Right, the rapier kind of held up high towards the guy, but then as he begins to scramble, he lowers it down, starting to turn his head, without, of course, not really focusing on the eyes, but turning his head more so back towards Vesuvius.
And conversely, the one who's fighting Vesuvius does not seem to kind of recognize the position that he's in. He's been locked in this intense combat. As he is going to swing at you again, Vesuvius, you do see his blade slips from his grasp and kind of careens past you a bit, very quickly. And he looks very surprised by this, but kind of not breaking stride. He is going to attempt to swing and hit you with his bare hands.
Oh boy. Damn.
These guys.
I have at least toughness 1, but let me double check.
God, being so squishy makes me miss Azric.
Oh. Type an armor value of 4, toughness.
But I can hear anything, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I take 2.
Okay.
Ooh.
So he swings, and it's not a clean hit, but you do feel it scrape against your flesh. And then he's going to use the one frenzy that he has and do a rage attack. Again, unarmed.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Nope. I'm gonna get punched again.
Poor Vesuvius. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, what a bitch slap.
Whooping this guy.
So after the first one comes in kind of wretched, his form improves, and you actually see a right hook coming. It's like a bar brawl. There's no skill to it, but it's power and speed. And this hook comes in and just chin checks you across the right side of your face, throwing a very mean left hook, this brigand, and it staggers you a bit from the blow. But that's everything for him, and it is your turn.
Yeah. And Vesuvius just kind of getting hit across the face like this and kind of seeing that he's unarmed at this point. I am going to use one of my... Let me just see here. I'm going to use one unarmed action, and basically in a very kind of fast moment, that look of disappointment that has been on Vesuvius' face just drops. And you see the eyes that are hidden behind the robe. They seem to kind of sink into the skin, the hood dropping, and you see the bald head that's there. The claws start to come out, and you see, and just the jaw just starts to get almost impossibly wide. And this very feral growl comes out of Vesuvius. As I'm going to do that. I'll do a 3-hit combo. And I'm just going to do I'll do tidal wave. And I'll do chi strike. Let's do it.
Head swap your token. Don't forget the flip. Don't forget the flip.
Yeah, I forgot about thank you. Alright, let's see. Oh, let's name it.
Make sure to include whatever your feral things are, because
yeah,
it's not your usual.
I do have to roll, let's see. I get additional HP. And then I just get strength and body, but I don't get any additional attack. But that's okay.
So he seems definitely taken aback. What the hell are you? Tries to throw up his hands.
And with that, you just hear as it just kind of pounces on this guy, and using tidal wave. What happens? Oh yeah, he's just thrown back actually towards Maftet. But it does do some pretty hefty damage. Let's see, so I add 1d6. Oh, 1d6 plus 1d20 plus 1.
Oh yeah.
Plus,
Mm-hmm.
add 3 every 5 points. Oh, I do have to roll before this. Plus 3 to body or endurance roll.
Christ. Tidal wave is so fucking good.
So that's just, this is just to see how much strength I get to add. So I get to add plus 3 for every 5, or plus 1 for every 5. So this is gonna be plus 1d6 plus 1d20 plus 4.
Very
Okay.
nice.
And then I think it's, because it's 3 hits, so power 3?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Fucking hell.
Nice.
So describe how you dispatch the man rather gruesomely.
So as Varsuvius turns and lets out this terrifying snarl, just grabs the man by both arms, and with the strength that Varsuvius throws him across 10 feet backwards and into the ground, rips off one of his arms as he just collides, his neck snapping as he collides with the grass, and he just tumbles ass over tea kettle and just lands and goes still.
Yeah, and he, you see the corpse of this brigand. He let out one death throw, and then slides across the ground, and the sound is definitely jarring, but perhaps more so to quell Morith's intense listening. You hear a very loud crunch in your ears, and you can actually feel little vibrations of tremors as the rest of you see this man's corpse twitching.
Quilmorith kind of looks a little bit distressed, a bit of a grimace as the man sputters and dies, pretty much. Kind of looking a bit concerned for a moment, looking air quotes, in Varsuvius's direction before he kind of tilts his head either way and sheaths his blade.
Yeah, Maftet had turned, getting ready to attack this fellow behind her, just as he's thrown into her range, missing an arm, bleeding out. And she looks up at Varsuvius, and although she's not easily startled, obviously she looks a bit shocked, and she raises the Lajatang spear slightly up toward Varsuvius, just instinctively for a moment, and looks at her, making sure that she's not making any threatening movements toward them, and assuming she's not, she slowly lowers it.
Hearing the kind of weapon get raised again and everything, and her kind of demeanor shift to something more rigid again, Kolmorith, the song by this point having lulled to an end. Is everything all right? Tense. They're dead, yes?
Yes. This group appears to be full of surprises. She said that's all she says about it. And then nods at Varsuvius.
Varsuvius looks to Moftet and just lets out one last before kind of shifting back. You see the jaw retracting back in, eyes kind of turning to normal, and skin not being so distressed against the skin. Afterwards, Varsuvius just pulls the hood back up over their head, placing their arms inside their robes again.
Kolmorith actually kind of takes a couple steps that way. Varsuvius, are you all right? You sound strange.
I'm fine. It's part of my tribe.
And they go up to the one that they killed and kneel down.
Yeah, Moftet rummages through the corpse she's basically standing on for anything valuable. And after just a moment, she lowers her spear, peacefully to her side and approaches the family.
The other two seeming calm as well. Kolmorith heads over towards them.
Did you say, Ghost, that their wagon seemed broken?
You do see as you're you're not certain. It looks like it might have been caught in maybe mud or something like that, but it looks like it's askew and kind of like a shopping cart wheel. This one would turn to the side or maybe even break off entirely. The construction on the wagon didn't seem all that great to begin with. But as you approach, the man steps back a bit, but in fear, casting a wary glance over towards the robed figure in particular. But he looks at the rest of you. Well, I thank you for your help. You certainly saved us.
Of course, my friend. I hope you are all well. They did not hurt you, did they?
He looks back at his family, and it's you see a woman and a young child, and he looks them over. No, they were going to, but I think we're okay now. Thank you.
Yes, of course. I'm glad you are all safe.
You are 2 or 3 hours, in that wagon, probably more, from Wormtail,
says Moftet, approaching close enough, and she holds up the silver coin that she'd found.
This isn't much, but for your trouble here, perhaps can go toward fixing your wagon.
And she just tosses it over there.
And he catches it.
Oh, thank you kindly. This will feed us at least for an evening. Look, honey, it says good food money until I find work.
Pass it over.
Do none of you have food?
He looks at Kolmorith and
well, we were trying to move. Prospects have dried up a bit to the south ever since that whole issue with those dirty Atacralians. He spits on the ground. Not only is the king appropriating many stores, but people like them,
hitting at the corpses.
they might not come in and kill us, but they're slowly strangling us every time they hit the caravan. Work is hard to find. This is all we have left.
Points over, and you see it's very
Well,
minimal kind of food, and there's this like old stale bread, if hardly anything. It's maybe a couple days of clothes. There's really nothing that is too valuable in the wagon.
and Qualmorith kind of at that. Well, I can't say I can quite understand your plight. And he kind of motions towards his eyes and kind of winces a bit as he moves his arm up and kind of touches his chest with the one gloved hand, pulls away the blood kind of dripping here and there. But it sounds like you do have quite a bit of trouble ahead. Here. And he actually pulls off his right glove and kind of reaches into a pouch on his belt and runs his thumb over several coins before pulling one out. And he walks over to the man. Your hand, please.
He looks a bit confused at first, but then he kind of sees that looks at your eyes.
It's over. Are you sure? I don't want to cause any trouble to anyone else. I know we've got our own problems, but...
And Qualmorith takes the hand up, turns it over in his own, and places a gold coin in there. Of course, it is no problem. If all goes well, I'll be making quite a bit of coin soon, so I won't need it. Not as much as you, my friend.
He nods. You're a kind one. We've always been told to be a bit concerned about your kind, but I see those just rumors, as it always is.
Oh, no, it certainly isn't. After all, he motions to his eyes. Perhaps these eyes might have light still, if that were not the case.
Yeah. You think that your reasoning goes over his head a bit, but he kind of nods on, just trying to seem agreeable.
Well, with that, perhaps you can leave the wagon and take what you can carry. These roads may be too dangerous to linger on.
He looks at the wagon, thinks on it, and looks hard at a moment, and then he looks at his family.
I think you're right. It's good wisdom.
And he looks at the cart.
Honey, Stella, take what you can from the wagon. We go to Wormstail. We can rebuild. Look, money. That is all we will need. Wormstail has jobs. I'll find something to do. Come on.
They start to basically get the simple necessities, food, and a couple of mementos that they seem to have.
He gives a bit of a nod and whispers something very quiet. I don't know if the others hear or not, but for him, quiet is very quiet. But just a small little verbal nod to his deity.
Well, as they look like they're going to, be on their way, and Moftet's looking around, doesn't see any sign of the bandits. She looks to the others and says, "Let us continue on."
Yes. Perhaps he reaches into the sack and pulls out the potion. Would he know, how much this would do? Right, essentially, with his current wound rate, would it be reasonable to assume that this is not wasted if he takes it now?
You have thaumaturgy?
No, he doesn't.
Intelligence.
Alrighty. Intellect. Let's see how smart he is. Not that smart.
You are not very familiar with agents. You know that it's based on what Hrothgar told you. It's meant to seal up wounds. You don't know how potent it is at all.
Yeah, he assumes that this is about right. Given he feeling the pretty large gash across his chest, he quaffs the thing.
Go ahead and restore yourself to full. As you drink, you begin to feel a bit of a burning along the cup, but then a coolness kind of recedes over it, and if you were to run your hand over it ungloved, you would note that the cut has basically sealed.
Yeah, he does. My, what a song-worthy sensation that is. These things are quite potent, aren't they?
As they start to head out or get ready to head out, Moftet walks over to where Vesuvius is and looks at her or him, curiously.
Vesuvius is... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Who do you pray to?
Vesuvius has been staying kind of away from the family, and if they pass by, just gives them a very small nod, knowing that they make the family very uncomfortable, most likely. Vesuvius looks to Moftet. You can see there's, as he approaches, still that little bit of disappointment as they look on you.
Well, I pray to the Maker, of course. Do you pray to anyone?
I know that there's gods of the Mentep. There's like 3 main ones, but I can't remember what they're called. But she'll say, of course, I pray to, and she'll, name the Mentep deities. I do not know this Maker.
Polmorth steps over as well, kind of rejoining the others. I can't say I've... there's many gods, of course. Not too many that I've encountered with this title. Though that depends on who you ask, I suppose.
Vesuvius looks to them and smiles.
I've encountered at least the knowledge of many worships and many deities, as I spent a great many years at the Pantheos Cathedral in Espinosa. I have heard of your gods, Moftet, but I would like to offer you a proverb from mine. To give light to those who sit in darkness, and in the shadow of death to guide our feet into the way of peace. I think next time we come across something such as this, we should attempt peace before we attempt violence.
You sound like some of the monks from Mianwu. I must admit that my first instinct when I see the helpless being attacked is to jump in to defend. She shrugs. I've been trained this way since before I could walk. I may be too late to change.
It is honorable of ours to help those in need, but to take a life is not something to be taken lightly.
Of course. But yes, as you said, there are 2 sides to every coin, and perhaps this time the coin fell on tails, yes?
Unfortunately. But the Maker has his ways of showing us the path that lays out before us.
Well, I have no problem with your goddess, I suppose, but I'll quite happily keep drinking to the god of wine. And he pulls out a wineskin and takes a hearty sip, and then offers it forward to whoever might want some.
All Mentep enjoy wine, and Moftet is no exception. She'll take some.
Just remember that if you
music, of
drink
course.
your chi gets kind of
yeah.
banged on, just so you know.
Oh,
He doesn't
like,
know that.
Yeah, it drains your chi, I'm pretty
she
sure.
would know that, but I didn't know. Like, how much does it drain it?
Like, completely, I'm
Your
pretty sure.
Chi emptied.
Yeah, just because basically your inner self is thrown very off balance, so your chi basically just goes kaput.
Okay,
I think
well, in
the
that
thing you can get
case,
that
you
lets
would
you
bring it
bypass
up
doesn't
to
it?
her mouth and then shake her head. Not right now. Perhaps when we are done.
Well, that's fair enough. Edgith, perhaps, if you would like some.
I do not partake. And she kind of looks over at the carnage, and I think we spent a bit too much time here. We should go on.
Yes, I suppose. And, kind of. I would say look, but he kind of just has his body. He really kind of faces one way or another, but his head will kind of swivel depending on like who he's listening to. Ear first more so than anything. So it's quite hard to tell who he's like paying attention to at any given point. Because it's just quite hard to read, but thinks about saying something, but holds himself back. Well then, I'm feeling much better after he kind of runs his hand over the slash in his garment. After that, but we must get on, I suppose.
Right. So, the group of you, after dispatching those bandits, proceed forward. It is rather uneventful. You do get a night to rest and recover, so with a meal. So you would recover. I'm assuming everybody eats and gets a full 6 hours sleep, no matter how you set watch. Would that be a fair assumption?
That's fair enough.
So you will all recover 6 hit points for those of you that have wounds still.
Sorry, how much d6?
2d6.
2d6, thank you.
And then there's one for chi as well. So meditation for you, Matt, if you have it.
Times 6, I think, for the number of hours.
Okay, so you're gonna meditate for your sleep.
I think there's also I think you gain it back through sleeping too, if I'm not mistaken.
You do. I'm just trying to find
Yeah.
precisely where that is.
Oh. Yeah, because I definitely will get more than 10.
Nice. Qualmorith would request the and he would pretty much outright say request the darkest of night for his watch period.
So you probably take first watch roughly then.
Yeah, if it's quite dark out, if it seems quite cold, he would be fine with that, or pretty much the midnight watch is close to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless anyone in particular objects to that, then you're clear on that.
That sounds fine.
Yeah, once camp is made, he hums and sings along here and there, drinking some wine, and says 2 small prayers before he actually lays down. If he at that point he's not trying to be particularly quiet, but says a prayer to Yerhen, god of music and wine, and Restian, oddly enough, the god of, I think it was tranquility and where'd it go?
I can't find anything right away.
I found it.
Where's it at?
So it's on page 178. It rolls 1d20 times 6, if it's 6 hours sleep. So I'll just times it by 6, which is 60.
Here you go.
Oh, how much do you get just for resting?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on. That's resting.
Oh, okay. I was only missing
1d20 times 6, but I should re-roll that then because I did 2d10.
Okay.
That's my bad.
Here you go. Yeah, Qualmorith,
So 12 for
Worshipping
Octet.
the god of music and the god of silence, which is quite...
Okay, so you've got...
Full.
It's pretty good. So you got 94 back, basically? Or...
Chi
Oh, no,
back,
for more than
basically.
that, because it's meditation times that amount of hours. Oh, right?
No, this is just resting.
Okay.
So just straight rest is 1d20 times 6.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what I get back. And then meditation's just if you have the meditation skill, or it's 1d20 per hour.
Okay, so it's d20 per hour for meditation?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I would assume that you are probably back to full after that.
Oh, definitely.
All right. So, you proceed forward. On the second day, you arrive at what would appear to be the cave on the second, in the afternoon of the second day, making brisk travel. As you approach, you had been going through a rather lush kind of forest area. You did see a wildlife, but as you started to get closer, there was a sense that you were approaching this cave as it became more destitute. There was less nature noise. Perhaps the biggest shifts would be to Quamora, since you can't see. There'd be that tenseness that you all feel really as you begin to approach this cave. It's one too many. You begin to approach, and Moftet and Vesuvius, you would see this rather large outcropping cave into the side of a smaller mountain. Many steps, clearly man-made, leading up to it. There are two men in full armor, kind of kicking around the base of the steps. You recognize the heraldry without having to make any tests. They appear to be from the hold of Worm's Fire. They have the Nation of Thee, their royal crest upon their armor.
Colmorth would actually ask, I take the individuals ahead are allies of some sort? The two you mentioned, Edgith?
And she nods at first, but then, forgetting herself, says, "Oh, yes, they are my personal guard. They have come ahead to secure the cave entrance."
He kind of steps up a bit closer. Are you all right? I heard you whispering yesterday. I don't know if it was something private. It sounded curious, of course.
And she doesn't respond for a moment.
He is being very quiet about this.
The other two of you can make perception checks if you're wanting to.
Oh my god, Vesuvius.
I love this group.
Vesuvius is just focused.
Nothing gets by me. Nothing goes over my head. I'm too fast. I would catch it. Moftet, you do see that Edith kind of tenses up a bit as Quamorth is near her. You're not really sure the context of the conversation. They appear to be talking, but she does tense up a bit. And she looks to Quamorth and just prayers from my I was at a monastery time. Prayers, that's all.
Yeah, well, I suppose that is fair enough. If it is something you do not wish to speak of course. I hear much, after all. But I am just as adept at staying silent, if need be. I will not intrude on you.
No, that is all it was. She smiles. Of course, you don't see it, but
is there a particular should I do a thing?
Are you saying you don't trust what she's saying?
I never said I did.
You certainly can. I believe there's something for detect lies, if memory serves.
Like perception, or
I believe that is. Let me check. Detect lies is perception.
Cool. I like perception. Oh no, it's this.
Do you?
I roll low.
She's as honest as the day is long.
Let me go ahead for her.
I'm so used to my crazy, absurd listening skills.
I can hear that you're lying.
I can hear your heartbeat slow.
She seems uncomfortable, but you don't pick up any kind of sense that she's lying per se.
Yeah. And I feel like it'll probably come up soon enough, but I do have danger sense. I don't think it applies here.
As do I.
You know.
No, do you though? But
Yeah.
no, nothing's really. I mean, this you do feel, Quelmorith, that there is a stillness in the air here that is very uncomfortable for you. The others as well, you do feel a tenseness, but I would say that Quelmorith, because he relies so much on sensations, this is really bugging you. There's something about this place that seems very off. So,
He falls back a bit
Moftet
again.
peers into the cave, trying to get a sense of how large it is, how long the tunnel is.
yeah, it looks hard to tell from here. But there is a portion that just kind of proceeds into pitch black, and as you're approaching, one of the men says, "Foot,
Lady Idgith, you've come. Good. Nothing has come in or out since we arrived a few days ago. We have been here. Saw a few of the Elkhorn. They ran off.
looks at the rest of you.
These are the adventurers then, huh?
He gift nods to him, looks at you, and
Well met. I imagine if that old man, Hrofgar, hired you all, you must be very, very talented.
Very, very expendable, but maybe both.
I suppose, certainly, if you wish a song, I can make do, yes.
yeah. He looks at you, and at the expendable he is laughs.
You and me both, huh? Just because I wear the crest doesn't mean I'm any less likely to die doing all this.
He extends a hand.
I'm Rogar, son of Rogat.
Moftet reaches out and shakes it, or clasps his hand. I am Moftet of Alfad. This is Calmorith, she says, pointing to Calmorith and pronouncing his name very carefully. And Varsuvius.
Arcevius comes over and also very gently clasps the guard's hand. Their kind of skin feeling very parchmenty underneath.
Well met to you all.
And he looks over at the other one.
That big quiet oaf is Bordir. We have worked together for some time. He don't say much on account of having his tongue cut out by brigands. Isn't that right, Bordir?
Deer just kind of chore.
Don't mind him. I'm a bit of a mean soul. He is good a man.
Well, there you have seen nothing come in or out, but have you seen anything at all since you have been here? Any movement?
And he scratches his chin a bit.
Well, we did see something moving in the entrance when we first got here. Couldn't get a good look, because as you can see, it's pitch fucking black, and he, pardon my words, and he points at the door, the passway. It had eyes, and it looked at us. Beyond that, I don't know. Looked like a man, but I guess could have been a cave creeper. Something else, no idea.
Moftet shrugs, looking past him at the cave.
Well, there is only one way to find out. Shall we?
Yes, I'm looking forward to getting inside, honestly. The quiet of a cavern, it's been a long time since I've felt it. Though something is odd here.
You bet your arse that something is odd.
Looks around.
Edgith, Lady Edgith, are you sure you don't wish us to come inside with you? She just shakes her head. No, the king will need you in the event of war, every man. These are adventurers. As he mentioned, they are a bit more expendable. Not that I wish you all to die, of course, but circumstances as they are.
It is understood.
Of course, if the gods will it, then it shall be.
Rogar kind of looks at all of you, kind of laughs one more time.
Ah, you all look like you're made of stern stuff. I have no worries. I know you'll come back with what you need. We'll be out here to make sure nothing comes in. And, if anything gets past you, nothing gets out, huh?
Yes, well, try and enjoy your time out here. Perhaps I'll treat you a good song on the way out, when we make camp.
I'll hold you to it. I haven't heard a good drinking song in years. Poor dear's singing voice is not so good.
I would imagine. Just as well as my sight, probably. And he'll tap his wineskin. I'll even bring the drink.
Good man. I have to hang around your people more often.
Just be careful. You never know what you might lose.
Edgith looks at Rogar. If you're quite done, she's sorry, my lady. And he just kind of steps to the side, and you are all free to pass in to the caves.
Do we all have twilight vision?
I
Well,
have dark
except
vision.
Calmore.
I have dark vision, but
So at some point when it becomes very black, Moftet will need some source of light. I'm sure if Eve gets going, she will as well.
I would say that you're all perfect enough to have torches in the dark. So, Vesuvius, you have the dark side, so you need to.
Vesuvius actually, when they walk in, and they're fine. They're not pulling out. They have no torches. You can see they travel very light. And once the torches come on, Vesuvius squints very hard, turning back. You can see them rub their eye before blinking a few times.
Oh, I forgot some of you can't fully see in the dark.
And looks to Qualmorth.
Or see it all.
To be quite honest, the dark is, well, quite more comfortable for me. I'll keep my distance from the torch and, well, hope that whatever else is in here can't see as well.
If you are keeping your distance from the torch, then I will join you.
I suppose this is fair enough. As I said, hopefully we have nothing to fear. But if so, hopefully it doesn't have good sight.
We'll see.
You can see quite well, I take it, then.
Aye. Well, I can definitely see better than most.
Aye.
As they go deeper into the cave, they'll probably try to stay quiet. With this number of people, it's unlikely that they'll be perfectly quiet, but Moftet will make an effort.
Yeah, so you can roll stealth if you want, or dex if you have it.
Colmorth is keeping his ears wide open, but he will definitely he will definitely try and be quiet as he moves.
Very good.
Usually pretty good at.
I guess Vesuvius
Look at
is
Vesuvius.
just occasionally grunting along the way. Just
Grunting. So you move deeper into the cave. At first, the cave is cave. You know, there are the obvious rock formations and occasional rat droppings, and it's just dark. It's just a cave. As you go deeper into the passageways, Edith kind of giving direction from what she understands. She seems to have a very good knowledge of the caves, in fact, from what you can tell anyway. She knows when pathways are coming up. But as you go deeper, the scene starts to shift a bit. You go down to some deeper pits and longer winding hallways till you get to a rather expansive inner septum that appears very strangely to so as you come into this particular section there, the cave actually opens up quite a bit. On the ground there are these pools of reflecting red fluid. The stench in the cave is rich with iron. There is a large construct of some sort, perhaps light source, that is further in the distance that goes up to the tops of the cave. This is a very large septum, not easily traversed. And what is the reaction kind of when you come to this room in particular? It's also fairly well lit as well, with all the... You're not sure how exactly these light sources are, but it is quite easy to see. In fact, Edith snuffs her torch when you enter this room.
Is it fairly quiet inside, or?
You do hear it's kind of the echoes of the cave. Perhaps there's some wind that is escaping in somehow. You're not sure. There is a bit of busy noise in this cave, in fact.
Moftet says out loud, sort of for Calmorth's benefit, "This is enormous, and that red fluid on the ground and the red light. Idgith, what are we looking at?"
Edith looks, and there are many bizarre rituals done in this cave. I'm not certain, in fact. I know that the witches were very powerful magics. They could summon ethereal creatures from beyond. Even some say demons, perhaps. But they perverted the landscape. They were well known for their hexes. They had a sinister desire for beauty from what we have in the texts. Perhaps this was beautiful to them, or perhaps it was some long-running ritual that never ended even after their deaths. I cannot say.
Well, I will avoid touching it.
And Vesuvius looks to Edgith.
I do wonder. You said this cave has been abandoned. Yes.
As far as we know, cave, we put a regular patrol on it. It is possible other people could have come in, but most people are too afraid to come here.
And have you been any farther within this cave? Farther than what you already know?
This is my first time being this deep in the sanctum. I checked the pathways before, but was called away by the king. I did not have a chance to go deeper.
Yeah, Colmorth's definitely listening on that to see if it sounds legit. Perception again, yeah?
Yes.
Cool. That's more like it. I'm a big fat perception.
I'll whisper you something.
Yeah, I like to think Quamorth is basically like looking for small little signals, like the direction she speaks, the volume, the tone, and everything. How she kind of presents herself in that kind of demeanor, really, towards who she's speaking.
So she kind of looks about. And now, if the texts are correct, it would be this way, but
Nice.
But
again, I am uncertain. Try to guide you as best I can.
I see. And these, he kind of tilts his head towards the pools, and kind of tips his shoe, knocking a pebble off towards the liquid. What is this? Some sort of water? It reeks of metal, almost.
I am uncertain. As I said, I think these witches were very powerful. The coven had great energy. Could have been some sort of ritual to taint the water. Needed for whatever further rituals, or perhaps it is just something aesthetic they wished.
Quite interesting.
Well, we will not figure anything out by standing here. Let us go the way you think we should go.
Of course. Try to avoid the puzzles, of course, but the pathways, she kind of points in the direction of that very long kind of beam that is going through the air. That, I think, is where we need to head towards. It's rumored to be an inner sanctum, that it draws great power.
And is there any stories or anything in the texts that you've read regarding this inner sanctum?
The witches had a great giant of a man as a protector. They promised him long life, and he gave them his sword. I am uncertain of his fate, but King Ossus came here and struck down the witches. Perhaps he killed their protector to do so.
We should be aware if it is witches giving long life. We must assume that that life is still sustained.
Yes, I suppose. I don't suppose any of the witches could have survived.
Not according to the texts. What was said was that King Ossus came, 5 men, the knights from his table. And when he came to this place, they went through just as we had. They fought many creatures, many cultists, all servants of the witches. It was only him and 3 other knights when they confronted the cult, the coven, 6 witches, and I guess their protector as well. But it is light on that point. All it is known is that after the battle, the witches lie dead. King Ossus lie cursed, and all his knights were strewn across the graves.
My. So there's graves ahead then?
There may be. They could have been lost to time. I believe that the king set cairns for each one of his knights. Even at the cost of his dwindling life, he spent his energy so to honor their sacrifices.
Why? Well then, I suppose we should trek on with care, yes?
Yes, I will go in front. Just in case.
There's a small nod from Cormorith, yeah.
Edith nods as well. As you're proceeding forward, I want the 3 of you to make perception or listening tests if you have
Is that danger sense thing, or
Oh, yes.
Let me read danger sense better, because I better
danger,
understand.
danger? I think it's on my sheet.
It's on my sheet,
If you need
too.
to, on my title thingy. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm gonna. Normally it's supposed to be secret, but you get a +1. For this is gonna be danger sense.
Sweet.
I spent a frenzy to use my enhanced perception.
I take it as perception and not listen.
It is listen, actually, if you have listen.
Oh, yes, please. Absolutely. I would love to roll this in. Oh my gosh, I rolled low.
So Montet and Qualmoreth. So Vesuvius, you're you don't really notice anything, just the cave winds. Qualmoreth and Moftet, as you are approaching, you've been kind of crossing over some of these pools and going by them. There's been a couple of chasms that you've crossed over. You're approaching what you think is another chasm ahead, and you hear very soft chanting ahead.
Yeah. Colmorth kind of holds a hand up as if to, pause.
And Moftet stops in her tracks and does the same. Like she stands and turns and gives a halt hand signal to the others. And she'll go back to, she's slightly ahead. She'll move back and whisper softly, "Do you hear the chanting?"
Yes. Quite distressing. Kind of.
You said, did we see this up ahead?
So I can put you a little bit further away as you're approaching. We'll say like right here. Back it up a bit. But you're kind of approaching from this angle ahead, under some red light, and again, the source of these lights seems indiscernible. You do see a bunch of shrouded figures kind of gathered close together. Some of them kneeling, prostrating themselves before this rather large statue that is hidden under this overhang.
And Moftet turns to Vesuvius. "Do you see this? Do you want to try one of your peaceful approaches here?"
It's Vesuvius finally seeing what they were talking about as they pointed out. Their eyes widen slightly, and they look back to Moftet.
Unfortunately, sometimes peace is not always the answer. But I am curious, I will say.
Are they chanting anything that we can make out, or a language that we recognize?
So do any
listening in.
linguist or anything similar? Let's see what languages
so.
everybody has.
I just speak Kothan and
Oh, that's right.
Mob
Yeah.
that language.
Yeah, whatever the Vatagi speak, that's...
Yeah, I have Kothan and technically Eldrin as well, but...
You can try to roll an intelligence check, but if you don't have... it's going to be very hard without linguist.
I'm basically trying to pick out the name of any gods.
Roll big.
Womp womp.
So, pretty much the two of you, Quamorth and Mata, since you had the better perception rolls, you can hear some kind of words being chanted. You don't hear any names that pop out to you right away, but the chanting is very deep, kind of baritone chanting.
The voices are regularly or relatively normal sounding then, or?
There's nothing that sounds twisted about them per se, but just the stillness of all the figures, maybe. I mean, you don't sense that really, but for Moftet, you would see they're all very still and very intent on whatever this statue is.
Idgith, what are they doing? Who is this?
Yes, for a service, you could roll that if you want. Edgith looks and just shakes her head.
I do not know.
Do you wish to speak to them?
It may be dangerous. I would wish to go around them if I do not see a way.
Mm.
And this is the only way to go, yes?
From what I have read, it appears.
Very
Shame.
well. I will go ahead, and if they look hostile, then she shrugs. You know how it will go.
I suppose, though perhaps I should follow you up, just in case. If they can be persuaded. I've been told I have a silver tongue before, after all.
Moftet starts to nod and then says, "Perhaps that is good." And she starts to move ahead. I am going forward now.
Yes, I can hear you. And he steps forward after her.
And Vesuvius, to go on your, well, it's. I mean, they definitely appear to be doing some kind of religious type activity. You don't see anything familiar. They appear to be praising something, but you're not able to get a sense of the words or anything like that.
Yeah. Probably doesn't recognize the idol they're worshipping either, so Vesuvius will.
No, you do see it. It is a woman. It has a snake wrapped around the arm. It's kind of her sitting along. She's just sitting in the as far as the statue appearance, she's sitting on some kind of structured ground. But it is her. She's on a long flowing dress. There is a snake wrapped around one arm, and a bat rests on her shoulder.
Yeah, as Vesuvius, they're not approaching the same speed as the other two. They'll hang back, but they're glancing from the worshippers to the idol, trying to kind of rack their brain to see if they can figure out what exactly it is, but coming up with nothing so far.
Are the two of you approaching with stealth, or are you just kind of coming across?
Cormorth would definitely be trying to be quiet.
Well, they can't exactly sneak past.
Yeah, he's not trying to draw their attention immediately, but if they seem like,
I think once Moftet feels that she's put a little bit of distance between her and Edgith and anyone behind, she'll actively try to draw their attention.
So you could get about there, and then if you want to do something to get their attention, then that would be pretty close to it.
Yeah, she'll
after.
she'll just call out, "I am Moftet of the Alfad. Who among you speaks for your people?"
And when you speak out, you see all in unison, their heads all kind of turn towards you.
Like literally in unison?
Pretty much in unison. And they all look at you. They're all wearing something over their face. You can see the eyes. They're wearing hoods over their heads, and they all kind of look amongst one another. There is movement to the back of them, and they all turn their bodies towards you, their torsos, and one of the ones from the back walks forward.
Who is it that comes to the coven, the cave of Hexes? Moftet was your name?
Yes, I am Moftet. We have come in search of a vial that
can help the people outside defend against intruders. I can make the life of those that have asked me to come here better and safer. Does this vial exist? Is it yours?
And that figure straightens up and I see. He looks you over and you speak of a noble cause, but you all appear as spelunkerers. And there is a few chuckles from the back of the group. Are you not just here to hunt for treasure, for coin?
Holmorth actually kind of speaks up. Of course not, my friends. We come here merely for this vial. I was not aware there was anything else.
All treasure hunters come in search of treasure. The vial is a treasure. Is this not what you seek?
I suppose if you word all things of value as treasure, then I suppose. But no more than the vial.
Not for the sake of money, but for the sake of the good it will do. Do you have it?
He's silent for a moment.
I see. So, you gain nothing from this task. It is all an act of goodwill.
Their leader offered to pay. I always have to ask, because when I do not ask, then they are suspicious. In truth, I seek only to redeem my name.
He looks at you. You see the leader kind of focusing his eyes on you. That
This Mentep, this warrior, speaks of the truth. The vial is not meant for ordinary hands. It was the last great product of the Coven, the last great treasure, before they were struck down by the cowards that dwelt beyond the cave. It is not meant for mere simple hands, but you may yet pass the trials. Yes. Normally, my brothers and I might slay you where you stand, but this may be interesting.
I would be honored to try. And she looks behind her at the bard. And this one, we have been told one version of the events that occurred here. But this one is a bard dedicated to hearing all the stories and passing them along. If there is another truth to be heard, perhaps you can tell it to him.
Yes, this is quite true. I mean, if you have a story to tell, I'd be happy to learn of it.
Are you so certain, Bard? Truth can get you killed just as easy as any sword fight.
Yes, and yet a blind man charges into danger, nonetheless, yes?
he looks at you kind of curiously. And others chuckle a bit.
You wish the story? You wish the truth? I can tell you a little. When you have completed the trial, perhaps I tell you more.
Begins to pace, and the others step back.
Sounds like quite a bargain. A story for a trial, and the trial itself a story in turn.
Those beyond this place, the kings, the fife holders, sons and daughters of noble blue bastard blood. They came to this place with steel and fire. The coven had existed for centuries. They had protected the wood, the creatures, the dryads. This place was mystical once. Man and fairy together as one. Those fools came with their weapons of war, turned the coven into terror. They burned the wood, they slashed, they cut and killed the mythical. They took the dryads, burned them, raped them, did what they wished. The coven did what it had to do. It turned good magic to foul. This, he gestures around, this is not what the coven wished. It was forced upon them through war, a war of ignorance, a war of oppression. Our fathers, our great-great-grandfathers, our ancestors long before kept these truths and blended into the society that developed from this war. We are keepers of truth, the brotherhood of the coven, called the cult of the Hexes by the ignorant. More you shall have, if you wish it, but only to the worthy.
Well, I must say it is a wonderful story. Quite interesting. One worth being told. I'd love to know more. So, this trial you speak of, what does it involve?
The vial is always within reach. Initially, we wished to take it ourselves to protect it, a last bastion. But those who have attempted have died. The vial is protected. By us, of course, but another. One of the last bastions of protection. One of the last creations of the coven. A necessity, you understand, against the encroaching darkness from beyond. If you were to claim the vial, I would wish it given to us to protect, but only those worthy may decide. If you can defeat the protector of the vial, you do as you wish. Give it to those beyond, if you desire. But that is what you must do.
Moftet will look behind her toward Edgith and Varsuvius. She'll give Kalmoreth a pat on his shoulder. And she says, "This sounds like a deed worthy of a legend."
Yes,
Perhaps.
indeed.
I am eager to accept your challenge. And she starts to walk forward.
Colmorth follows after. Yes, I'm quite curious to see this guardian, and, well, I suppose if we survive, then it'll be, well, just about as grand a tale as you could tell. A magical vial, an ancient guardian, fairies, nothing more interesting.
And when he hears the challenge, the others look to one another, and they actually begin to form kind of this line across.
Then into the inner sanctum you must go. If you do not return, it was a pleasure to have had your company for a time.
Hear a few of them chuckle, and one of them pulls a urn back that was on the stairs here, and this portion of the stairs shifts, and you begin to see it exposed passageway.
Colmore gives an exaggerated bow to the one who was speaking, the leader, presumably, in his vague direction. Well, my pleasure of meeting you as well. Thank you again for your tale.
You may not be so thankful you see what awaits you.
Well, I suppose I'm counted lucky there then, yes?
Do we go together? Do all who enter this cave as challengers go in, or just me, or one at a time?
Oh, as many as you wish. Our brotherhood was twice this size the last we tried.
My.
Moftet looks back across the bridge, trying to determine whether the others plan to come.
Kolmorith, not really noting her demeanor there, calls out a whistle, a very loud, high whistle, towards the other two. Kind of waves a hand as if, come on, in their vague direction.
Vesuvius looks to Edgith.
Are these tellings of their tale? They sound opposed to the ones that have been in your texts.
Perhaps, but do madmen ever make sense? Look at them. They live in a cave.
True, they live in a cave, but it is their monastery. If you think about it that way. But if you would like this vial, we must press forward.
Yes, we should. Edgith kind of looks about. Let's get on with it then.
When Vesuvius actually approaches the other two, probably with Edgith in tow, she will look to them.
This is the last time before we decide if we truly want this.
She does, or they do look back to Edgith.
Though I will agree, we are hired to do this job. And many have come after this vial. If we think about the one who guards it and the power it does hold, is it truly correct if we try to take it for ourselves?
Moftet looks at her and smiles a little bit with approval.
I am not wise. I do not know what the correct thing to do with the vial is. But it is doing no one any good where it is, being guarded by some creation of ages ago. You may not have anything to prove, but I have everything to prove. I will go there, with whoever will come with me. I will defeat this guardian, and I will bring the vial out. I hope that you will be here to guide the judgment of what is to become of it. You seem wiser than me.
Vesuvius smiles. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so as that conversation is going on with what to do with the vial, Edgith steps forward. What do you mean you do not know what to do with the vial? You have been contracted. I have told you what this will do for our people.
Yes. And I will take that into consideration, as I am sure my companions will. However, we have accepted no payment. She shrugs. We are not honor-bound by any contract that we have not accepted any payment for. And so, we must use our best judgment. Perhaps there is a way for all to benefit from this vial.
All can only benefit if it comes to the king. I would hope that your honor keeps you into this contract, if any of you have any. She looks very perturbed by this talk.
And Vesuvius cocks a non-existent eyebrow up to Edgith.
You attempt to question our honor in attempts to cow us into doing what you think is right. But what you think is right, what they think is right, and what is truly correct are three separate things. We should go now and acquire this vial, and from there the correct course of action shall be revealed.
And Maftet nods again and says, we do not forget that there are helpless ones among your people who could benefit from these things. You must trust us to come to the correct decision. I do not see that you have any other choice. And with that, she starts to move forward.
Qualmorth has kind of been to the side, just quietly listening in, kind of his head tilting a bit towards each given person as they speak. Well, I suppose on then. I guess we'll see. Kind of mumbling to himself as he kind of continues on after her.
And you all proceed. Edith does look rather upset for those of you who can see her, but she says nothing further at this point. You proceed forward. You go between the two lines. You hear the soft chanting. Sounds closer now. Some of it is just simple blessings to the coven. The coven. The coven. There are a few who wish you luck as you proceed forward. May the coven guide thee. The simple things such as that. But you proceed forward into the altar.
Into
area.
the depths.
To the depth.
Oh, good.
So as you enter into this chamber, you're greeted with a gruesome sight of
A giant mega badass.
devices.
Oh, yep. There it is.
As you enter, the first things you notice are the weird torture instruments, and this appears to be some sort of dungeon. But as you are scanning the room, immediately a rather large figure catches your eye at the far edge. Simply sitting on a bit of shattered stone, wiping off a blade as it does, and looks up to regard you.
Guardian of the vial, we are here to take the vial on behalf of those who can use it.
Looks at you speaking, Moff Ted. You see there are no eyes. It's the blue kind of glaze over both of them. So basically blue flame burning in each one, and sits there and nods. And there's many before you. If only I could get. He stood. He'll stand. He's got a massive beast of a sword in his hand, and he holds it a large shoulder pad, and has two heads, in fact. One that rests actually limp, kind of on the side, just lolling around. Is what you assume to be the superior head is this kind of body, and Why do you seek the vial?
I seek to redeem my honor by getting this vial for the use of those who it might benefit. Here in the cave it goes to waste. So many lives out there, so many people suffer and could be helped by this thing.
Why should I be moved by the suffering?
Vesuvius chimes in.
You shouldn't. Suffering happens, whether it is here or all over the world. It does not matter, suffering will happen. But there are those who suffer now, who've requested something to remove their suffering. And hope is something that we should offer them. The hope to acquire this vial. And that is at least what we hoped to do.
Do you intend to stay here forever? That sounds like no kind of existence.
And you see the creature look towards Vesuvius and to you. That is all good wisdom. Shoulders the blade. If it were to me, I would let you take the vial. It means nothing to me. But I did swear an oath with a covenant. It is unbreakable. I will give you my name, that you might give me yours before you die. I am Magdar, known as Twice Cursed. Once, Lord Magdar. This is my brother, and he gestures to the head that is limp at his side. An oath was made, pact formed. I guard this hall to my death, my second death, and my final death.
Well, he kind of twists his head to either of the others before taking a step a bit closer and speaking. I am Qualmorth Dawnwhisper. It is my pleasure, Mogdar, Twice Cursed.
Vesuvius bows to Magdar.
And I am Vesuvius of the Scratch Vatagi clan, monk of the Pantheos Cathedral.
I am Maftet Al-Fad, guardian of the young.
Magdar nods. There is a decency among you. I will be sure to kill you quickly, unlike the others that may have tried. Brothers, rise. It is time once more. And there were two statues to the side of Magdar. They begin to shift and twist. You see dust churn about, and pieces of the armor fall off. Within, you see bone and rended flesh. And so, as it always does, it begins. And perhaps today it ends. And as Magdar wields his weapon and the other two brandish their blades to walk towards you, the scene fades into black. To be continued.
Oh my god! Because this battle gonna take a while.